the polls this coming Sunday in the legislative elections, called by President Macron, of course, in the wake of the June the 9th defeat of his party in the EU elections. A high score of 34% was made by the far-right Rassemblement National. Well, tonight there's been the final debate between the main candidates of the three sections. That's the Rassemblement National with Jordan Bardella, who we saw there, Gabriel Attal, who was speaking just then, of Renaissance. He's essentially the current Prime Minister of France, and that is Olivier Faure, who represents the new Popular Front. That's the left kind of coalition which has come together to battle these legislative elections coming up. So this final debate, and after this, from midnight tonight, we're going to a sort of electoral purdah, where we can't talk about things while people settle down, think about the arguments, they cast their votes on Sunday. So the analysis you get now is of vital importance, and I'm pleased to announce Leila Jacinto, hot-footing into the studio, having watched this, well, somewhat heated and interesting debate. What's your overall thought on it right now?
Very scrappy, very combative, very lively, never a dull moment. I mean, if you thought French legislative debates are boring, not this one. I mean, it lasted 2 hours, so it was very wide-ranging, a number of issues covered, national unity, defense, foreign policy, education, economy, minority rights, gay rights, women's rights. But I mean, the difference here with this, because this is the second debate, we had the first debate earlier this week, and in the first debate, foreign policy did not come out at all. This time, they really went for foreign policy, and it was in the foreign policy section, actually, that you had some of the most takeaway, the most combative moments of the debate.
Indeed. Who was saying what then on foreign policy?
Well, the moderator opened the section on foreign policy with a photograph of Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, and the three candidates were asked, what would you do to help Ukraine? It started off with the left representative, Olivier Faure. He's a social democrat, and he's representing a left alliance called the New Popular Front. And Olivier Faure repeated the line of the New Popular Front, which is to support Ukraine in every way, including missiles that could reach Russian territory. But the red line, he said, was not sending French troops to Ukraine. It was then taken on by Prime Minister Attal. Prime Minister Attal, who's 35, France's youngest Prime Minister, immediately brought up the issue that has been dominating the headlines today, which is, this talk about the defense and the armed forces. Because earlier on Thursday, Marine Le Pen, the far-right leader, said that the president's title as the chief of the armed forces of France is just a title, an honorific. It is the prime minister who controls the budget. And of course, her party's poster boy, Jordan Bardella, is running to be the prime minister. So that's where some of the very scrappy moments of the debate happened, where Bardella was repeatedly asked, what does he mean by this? Bardella deflected this quite a bit, and said that, they're going to follow the Constitution. At one stage, these two young men, let me get this right. Bardella called Prime Minister Attal Macron's collaborator, to which the Prime Minister responded, and you are Marine Le Pen's poster boy. The man in the middle, the only older man, 55-year-old Olivier Faure, actually won that round by getting to the heart of the issue, which is, if you vote for the far right, telling French voters, if you vote for the far right, what we are in danger of losing is our institutions and the Constitution. And that is really, Mark, one of the central reasons why this debate was so lively, so important, and so watched. Because for the first time, the far right is at the gate of power in France.
First time ever. This will be absolutely unprecedented territory. Let's hear from, because we need to hear from all three candidates to keep it fair. Let's hear from Jordan Bardella.
More than 100 candidates in this election. If our compatriots vote for a change on Sunday, I intend to be the Prime Minister of all the French people. I believe that French democracy has suffered from the brutalisation of democratic debate over the past 7 years, and will suffer greatly from the sectarianism that I believe is today the hallmark of this left-wing alliance. which the French have been discovering with some trepidation over the past few days and months in public debate. I want to bring the French together. Wherever they come from, whatever their previous political choices, I'll be Prime Minister of all French people, to put the country back on its feet.
He wants to be the Prime Minister of all the French, he says.
Yes, this was, I would say, Bardella, for some of our viewers who has seen the sweep of the far right, Bardella's performance tonight was pretty close to what we have seen some of the right-wing candidates. Very combative, very scrappy, very defensive, and frequently on the attack. I mean, this is a young man with no experience. I mean, if his remit for tonight was to sound like a leader, he didn't really do that. So while he started off with this quote that we saw as, trying to portray himself as a prime minister for all French people, this basically unraveled in the section on immigration, where the other two candidates simply took it on.
Let's listen to the Prime Minister, Gabriel Attal.
We can't build peace and unity if we present more than 100 candidates in this election for whom we've found racist, anti-Semitic or homophobic remarks. I can quote Mr. Bardella. I quote, "Hitler didn't kill enough gypsies." I can quote Madame Bargès, who explained, "A black candidate on her list is a stain." Madame Sirène, who said all civilizations are not equal. When we want to appease, we have a duty to set an example. I believe that everyone must always be uncompromising on all hate speech, otherwise we end up legitimizing it.
Lila Jacinto, Attal there being very clear about hate speech and actually saying some very controversial things, which had Bardella clear on the back foot. Olivier Faure leads the left section. Immigration is something he spoke about. Let's take a listen to him, then I'll get you to comment on both men. Olivier Faure.
Today, not only are you sorting out French people from foreigners, but you're also sorting out French people from each other. You should have a good memory of the country that welcomed you. Mrs. Meloni, who is your friend in Italy, said at the start, "We don't want immigrants, we'll throw them into the sea." And in the end, she regularised 450,000 undocumented immigrants because she needed them to keep the economy going. They're the ones who sort your garbage. If they weren't here, you wouldn't be able to do anything. You wouldn't be able to do anything. This country is standing on its own 2 feet thanks to them.
Non, si eux n'étaient pas là, vous ne pourriez rien faire, parce que ce pays, il tient debout aussi grâce à eux.
Gabriel Attal.
Combative stuff, as Leila said. To sum up then?
I mean, immigration was really one of the most emotional sections of the debate, and everything came out. The Algerian war, Bardella, the far-right leader's roots, because he is of Algerian origin, and the leftist candidate, Olivier Faure, pointing out, as we saw in that clip, that in fact immigration is good for the economy. And getting to the nub, the heart of this, what is France? France has been an inclusive country for all, and sort of attacking Bardella's rhetoric on that.
Indeed. You and I both stand here as immigrants.